you have to review the laws of shofar before Shoshana starts, because these laws are very detailed and intricate, and the shofar is such a pivotal mitzvah. I say pivotal because chassidus says that the shofar basically introduces the whole new godly energy of the new year, and therefore it's a mitzvah rabba v'nasah. It's called a great and lofty mitzvah, and that's why chassidus spends so much time trying to understand how we cannot blow the shofar when Rosh Hashanah falls out on Shabbos, because it's such an incredible mitzvah. But and if we have to go over the details, because it's not like it used to be when one guy blows the shofar and everyone else listens to the shofar. Now everyone has to blow the shofar, because everyone knows people who have not going to shul, and if you don't know anybody, just walk in the street, you'll find Jews who are not going to shul, and so therefore every one of us is a shofar blower, especially because this year is Hakel. If I remember correctly, the Talmud says somewhere that when the Hakel year begins, any Kohen who does not blow his shofar is not a Kohen. If you're a Kohen, if you're part of the tribe, you blow your shofar in a similar way.
How about Levin?
Oh, it says Kohen. In a similar way, though, it's a time to gather Jews together and to give them the inspiration of the shofar, whether you're a Kohen or not a Kohen. And therefore, all of us have to know the laws, because we're all going to end up blowing shofar for people, hopefully.
And the Bechor, the Mashiach will be gone.
Will that be literal? Will it not be literal? Will there be kohenim? Will still be kohenim? Different subject. Let's focus on this one. So, there are a lot of details about a shofar having a crack, if it's, or a hole, and there are many instances when it is and isn't kosher. And the custom is, because of these halachas are so complicated, to not use a shofar unless it's completely without any cracks, without holes. Any boy over 13 years old who has already reached the age of puberty is allowed to blow the shofar, as a biblical obligation of blowing the shofar, and therefore he could blow the shofar for others as well. In order to do the mitzvah of the shofar, both the one who's blowing the shofar and the one who's listening to the shofar have to have in mind that they're doing this for the sake of the mitzvah. Without that intent, if you're blowing the shofar just to practice, something happens to hear you, you're not doing the mitzvah. The person who's blowing, the one who's listening, have to have that in mind. Let's say you're walking down Pico Boulevard and you meet someone and you want to do the mitzvah shofar in the shul with a minyan, and you specifically, want to do it there with the bracha, with a group of people at a special time, after the appropriate time, after the Torah reading. But now this guy needs to hear the shofar. So what do? So you're allowed to blow the shofar for them. But if you do not want to do the mitzvah right now, you have in mind, I'm not doing the mitzvah for myself now. I'm going to blow a shofar just for them, and I myself am not doing the mitzvah. That works. On the second day of Rosh Hashanah, there's a question whether or not. Okay, so if it's a man, so the guy who is the man should make the bracha himself, and the woman should make a bracha herself. However, if the man is not able or willing to say the bracha, you could say the bracha for them. A woman, you cannot say a bracha for a woman. Either she says a bracha herself, you can't say a bracha for her. A woman is allowed to say a bracha for this mitzvah, even though she's not officially obligated in time-related mitzvahs. However, there are many other mitzvahs where women are able to say the bracha, even though they don't have a technical obligation because of their love for the mitzvah. When you blow shofar on the second day of Rosh Hashanah, if you are going to blow shofar on the second day as well, you should wear a new garment in order to be able to say Shechianu. There's a question whether you can say Shechianu on the second day of Rosh Hashanah or not. In order to preclude any possibility of doubt, it's customary to wear a new garment, just like we have a new fruit in the second night of Rosh Hashanah, because of the question of whether the second day is considered like a different yontiv or this continuation of one day. So too, the second day of Rosh Hashanah, you're supposed to wear a new garment if you're a shofar blower. Before the shofar is blown, the shofar is covered. Everyone stands to hear the bracha. You don't say Baruch Hu Baruch Shema like you do because you're fulfilling the mitzvah of and you're saying Amen to the one who's blowing the shofar as a blessing, and therefore you don't say Baruch Hu Baruch Shema as you usually do. Just say Amen and have in mind to do the mitzvah. It's preferable to hold the shofar in your right hand and in the right side of your mouth. That's just the preferable way of doing it. Of course, it's still kosher if you didn't do it that way. It says the Satan stands on that side, and therefore when we confuse the Satan, it says by blowing the shofar, it causes Hashem to stand from the seat of judgment and go on the seat of mercy. What time is kosher for blowing the
If
shofar?
you're lifting,
If you're lefty, do you do differently? I don't remember that you do, and I'm a lefty, so I probably would remember if that was.
that's the reason why I ask.
Yeah, if I'm correct, lefties do the same thing. I probably would remember if they do it differently, but not necessarily. Randall Futafas said 20 times I learned it, 20 times I forgot. I wouldn't be surprised if I learned it 20 times I forgot. I think lefties do the same thing. I'll double check. What time is the earliest time to blow the shofar? So you let blow the shofar b'diavad even before Nates. Better after Nates, but even from Leitza Shachar, you could say a bracha already on the shofar, already from dawn, and you could blow the shofar until sundown. After sundown, you could still blow the shofar until until it's actual nightfall with 3 stars coming out. You could still blow the shofar, but don't say a bracha. After sundown, don't say a bracha. In other words, from Leitza Shachar, from dawn, not the best time. You could say a bracha, but after sundown, you could still blow the shofar, but then it's without a bracha. When you blow the shofar, each sound of the shofar has to have its own breath. You have to specifically say take one breath for each sound. So I know a lot of people, they make the mistake, they do the shvarim in 3 breaths. Teru, 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 and they take a breath in between each one. It's not correct. Or some people, they do the truah, they want to do a lot of truahs, and they take a breath in between the truahs.
Yeah.
It's one breath for each sound. You can't do 2 breaths for each sound, and you can't do 1 breath for 2 sounds. You have to have 1 breath for each sound, with the exception of the shofar that's blown, the time we blow the shofar the first time before Shemona Esrei. In that instance, in the first section, it's called a seder. There are 3 different seders. Each seder, each section of blowing has 3 lines. Each line is called a pava. So in the first, so there's 3 seders. There's 3 parts. There's tashat, and tarat. Those are the 3 seders, and each seder has 3 lines because you repeat the tashrat 3 times, tashat 3 times, and tarat 3 times. So, in the tashrat, in the first seder, atkiya, shvarim, trua, takiya, the shvarim, the trua, have to be blown in the very same breath. There should be a separation between them because they're not the same sound. It's 2 different sounds. However, the 2 sounds should be combined into 1 breath. There are different opinions about whether they should be separate breaths or not, and the halacha is that the best way to do it is that you do the shvarim and the trua in the same breath, but with a separation. So it's teru, 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 tu, 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 in the same breath. But that's only before Shemona Esrei. By Shemona Esrei, the shvarim and the trua are specifically supposed to be done in 2 separate breaths. Okay, how long does a tkiya, shvarim, trua, and tkiya have to be? It's very complicated, but I'll try to make it very simple. The best, in each seder, there's different halacha. The tkiya basically is supposed to be as long as the center part. Okay, the center part is officially the biblical title for the center part is trua. However, there's a question what the trua is. Is trua shvarim? Is trua what we call trua, or is trua shvarim trua? What is the cry of the there's a tkiya before the trua, the Torah says, a tkiya after the trua, and this trua is supposed to be 3 sets. You have to have a total of 9 sounds biblically. So the tkiya before, the tkiya afterwards, and the trua in the middle. What the trua in the middle is a question. Therefore, we do all 3 kinds of sounds. That's one reason we do all 3 kinds of sounds. There are other reasons, many other reasons. That's one reason why we do all 3 sounds. But technically, biblically, you have to have 3 babas. 3 lines of each kind of sound. So, if the tkiya is as long as the center part, the trua, then it's kosher. If the tkiya is not as long, it depends. Let's go like this. The first part is tkiya, shvarim, trua, tkiya. So the shvarim, trua are all together. The shvarim is made by 3 parts. Teru, 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 and the trua is t-t-t-t-t-t. The trua has to be preferably at least 9 blasts. The shvarim, the best way to do shvarim is to do it in the shvarim is teru, teru, teru. Each teru of the shvarim should last not more, not less, better more than less. It should last 3. Teru, teru, teru. It should last the same amount of time it takes to do tu 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 tu. That's how long each one of those terus should last. So you have each shever should last as long as 3 truas. 3 was called 3 trumitin. So let's say you did your shever a little longer. You did your shever the size of a tkiya. Not good.
Not good.
Because it's the wrong sound. You're trying to do a shever, it's a tkiya. But at what point is the shever considered a tkiya? So the best sized tkiya for the first seder is that the tkiya should be as long as the shever and the trua together. How long are the shvarim? The shvarim are 9. 3, 3, 3. How long are the truas? Also 9. How much is it all together? The trua and the shvarim together? It's 18. So it's supposed to be, the tkiya is supposed to be as long as 18 trumitin. The tkiya is supposed to be as long as the whole center, so it's supposed to be as long as 18. So tkiya the size of 18, shvarim between 3 and 9, and then of each shever, teru, teru, teru. Now, if you did the shever longer than 3, and you did it not longer than 9, you did teru. That's very poetic the way they do it. Very, very, very theatrical. Teru, teru, teru. It was longer than 9. It's still kosher if you make your tkiya 18. But if your tkiya wasn't 18, then if the shever is longer than 9, it's not kosher.
So it's best to keep it maybe a little more than 18 just in case, right?
Yeah, you're supposed to be 18. It's supposed to be 18.
Yeah.
But if
That's at a minimum.
The best is 18. Minimum is the tkiya is supposed to be as long as 18.
Right.
But if it wasn't as long as 18, and you made your shever longer than 9, then it's not kosher. Because your tkiya is bigger than your shever if your tkiya is 18.
Right.
If your tkiya is not 18, then it's not as big as your shever.
Go back.
If you're relying that a tkiya is kosher if it's 9, that's what you're relying on. So then you make your shever into a tkiya because your tkiya is now your shever is 9. Your tkiya is 9. If you make your tkiya into 18, okay, so then your shever, although it was longer than 9, it's still shorter than a tkiya. Therefore, it's still kosher. Therefore, it's still passable. But the best way to do it again is tkiya is 18, shever is more than 3, less than 9, and then through a minimum of 9. Our customs to do a lot more than 9. Okay, that's for this first set of tkiya, shvarim, through tkiya. In tkiya, shvarim, tkiya, the size of the tkiya could be smaller. It could be 9, because it has to be the same size as the shvarim. How much are the shvarim? The shvarim are 9. Each shever is 3, so it's total of 9. So the tkiya could be 9. If the tkiya was the size of 6 trumitin, 6 truas, it's kosher. But if you make your tkiya to be 6, then your shever is only kosher if it's up to 6. But if it's up more than 6, that's not kosher because then your tkiya is the same. Your shever is the same size as your tkiya. So if they keep your shever smaller than 6, especially if you make your tkiya to be smaller than 9. So the best thing is you don't have to have it 18 for the teshah. Even the chatchila, even the best way, as long as it's more than 9, it's kosher for the other ones. Just for the first part, the first seder has to have 18.
Right.
Okay.
So this is talking about the tkiya beforehand, the tefillah for now, v'acharel?
Yes, tkiya before and afterwards. Because the Torah says that tkiya before and tkiya afterwards, the same size as the Torah.
Okay, so we have to have both.
So best is 9. It's okay if it's 6, but if you made it 6, then you make sure your tkiya, your shvarim, is not going to be 6.
So what's the preferable way for the shvarim? Is it do or do? Do you hook it a little or you come out with it? I mean,
I think you don't want it to be sound like a trua. You want it to sound a little. You want to be a little longer than do. I would say that's 3. I mean, I don't know what the thing. I'm sure I know there's a discussion about personally sized truas.
Yeah.
That both like do. So does that affect the laws of the shvarim? Is it your personal shever or
Yes.
your personal trumitin, or is there some standard size of trumitin? I'm not getting into that, but I know that's discussed. Okay. Tkiya, trua, tkiya is the last seder. In the last seder, the trua, the minimum, technically a trua is supposed to be 9. If a trua was 3, it's okay. And therefore, if you made the tkiya of the last seder to be 3, which is the size of the trua, 3, it's kosher. But the best thing is that the trua should be 9, and the tkiya should be 9 in the last seder as well. Tkiya, trua, tkiya, the tkiya should be 9, the trua should be 9. If you made the tkiya 3 and the trua 3, it's fine. Okay. Let's go over, there's a few situations in which you have to repeat the whole thing. You have to repeat the whole line. You don't have to repeat the whole Seder ever. If certain situations, you have to start from the beginning of that line. Go back to go and do not collect to 100. If you took a breath, let's say you did 3 shvarim in Tashat, in Tishkiyat Shvarim, you did 3 shvarim, took a breath, you added 1. Or you did shvarim and trua, you took a breath, you added 1. It's not okay. Or you did another trua. If you took a breath and you added another sound, rule of thumb is you took a breath, you added a sound, or you put in another sound that shouldn't have been there. You did the sound that was supposed to be there. We did it twice, or you put a new sound in that line that wasn't supposed to be there. Go back to the beginning of that line, the tkiya of that line. Okay. If you started to blow the tkiya didn't go properly, that's fine. It's a little bit of a complicated halacha, but I'll try to say it very simply. In tkiya shvarim trua tkiya, if you did 2 shvarim and then you did a trua without taking a breath in between, even though you didn't do the right way of doing it for that order, since it's very similar to what you're supposed to have done, that's exception. You don't have to repeat it. You did tiru, teru, oops, what did I do? You did shvarim and trua, and you've got the third shever, got the third one. Big point I want to make. A lot of people misinterpret what a shvarim are. They misinterpret shvarim because they think that since there's a custom to add a piece after the third shever, teru, 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 teru.
Yeah.
So some people make a big mistake, and that extra sound is supposed to be divided in 2. So go teru, 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 teru. Some people do that. So if you are one of those people who like adding that sound or that split sound, a lot of people make a mistake, and I've seen very prominent Baal can make this mistake in very prominent congregations. It's a big mistake that a lot of people are making, which is to do only 2 shvarim. Teru, teru, tita. It's not okay. It has to be through 3 shvarim. I know Rabbi Shachat, he told me, the Rosh Yeshiva, that he doesn't do the piece at the end. It's too complicated, he says. And doesn't get into it, whether how long to do it, not to do it.
What does he do with this?
Teru, teru, teru. That's it. Doesn't add the piece. But if you do add the piece, don't substitute the added piece for the third Shabbat. It's to be for sure 3 shvarim, and you can add a piece also if you want. Fine, but don't miss the 3 shvarim. Okay. If you remembered you did tkiya shvarim through a tkiya, and all of a sudden you had a realization in the next seder that you forgot you did something wrong in the seder before. Your guy you're supposed to have, when you blow the shofar, someone pointing to which one to do, and the guy's pointing to you, you messed this up. So finish the seder you're in first before going back and fixing the line that you missed in the seder before. Finish that whole seder, then fix it. After Musaf also, we do again all 30 blasts again, do the 3 seders again. In that one as well, you do not take a breath by shvarim trua, but shvarim trua in the same breath, because some people are also fulfilling a mitzvah of hearing the shofar. It's a biblical obligation people are fulfilling, although it's not officially it's only a custom to blow the shofar then. But it should be treated as if it's a biblical obligation, because many people come to shul later and they want to fulfill their biblical obligation by the 30 blasts that are blown at the end of davening. Let's say you are going on the tefillin campaign, and you meet a Jew, and the Jew's like, I have no time to hear the whole thing. I know what you're going to do, it's too long. So the 2 opinions what to do. One opinion is, do tkiya shvarim through a tkiya. The first one, tkiya shvarim through a tkiya. Take a breath in the shvarim and trua, and you and the person listening should have in mind that they're not going to be yotze with any of the extra blasts in case there are any extra blasts. But it's very complicated to do that, because the person you're doing this for is not really interested in hearing the shofar. Technically, he probably doesn't know what the right intent is supposed to have. He's supposed to have. So another way of doing this is, like I once asked Rabbi Marlo, shalom, if you let us say a bracha for someone, you're doing a mitzvah for them. You say a bracha for them. Do you say the bracha, like when you teach them how to say the bracha, you let us say the whole bracha yourself, and say Hashem's name when you teach them to say a bracha. So you said you could. You could say the whole bracha. Even though they're repeating after you, and there's technically no obligation of education, whatever, but you're allowed to say the whole bracha. But Rabbi said, let me tell you what I do. What does he do? He says, Baruch atah Hashem, and he says to himself quietly, the end of the verse, Lamdeni chukecha, a verse in Psalm 119. Then he says to himself, Shema Yisrael Hashem, and and then he says Elokeinu out loud, Hashem Echad quietly, whatever. That's just he does. But I tried to do it once, it doesn't work. I did it with someone, and I started saying Shema Yisrael Hashem. He goes, I want to Shema Yisrael Hashem. He goes, Didn't work. Anyways, look for Marlo. Okay, it's a good thing to check your shofar if you're not sure if it has a crack or not. You could fill it with water on Yontif to check if it has a crack. If there's the same halachas apply as checking a lung. You fill the lung with air.
Check the shofar.
You'll have to check your shofar as well. If the shofar is chipped, not sure there's a hole goes all the way through, you'll have to fill it with water on Yontif. Or the shofar got dirty, you'll have to fill it with water on Yontif. The shofar has a status on Yontif as kli shemach laheter. It's not muktzah. It's used for a permissible thing.
So it's muchen.
It's muchen for this purpose. You're not allowed to move it for no reason, but you're allowed to move it for any purpose. And not for no reason. The previous Rebbe said that everyone before blowing the shofar should learn the Maimer of the Alter Rebbe, the Havin Kiyah Shofar, and that you should order mikvah also before blowing the shofar. The Rebbe told Rabbi
Which Maimer?
It's printed in the Machzer.
Okay.
It's a very long Maimer. It's a good 8.5 pages. So you're blowing the shofar, you should spend time to.
What's the key? What's the main highlights of it?
It's a very long Maimer.
Okay.
It's the same thing, the same idea like a slichot in the beginning. The Alter Rebbe.
That's what
The
he's saying.
Ma'amar.
It's a long Maimer.
Yeah.
Very long Maimer. So you're supposed to learn that Maimer. So, and you're supposed to go to mikveh. How should you go to mikveh? So, we don't really know the custom of going to mikveh in Chabad, except for the following.
So the morning before you blow.
The morning before you blow, you should go to mikveh. And the Rebbe told Rabbi Tenenbaum how he should go to mikveh when he blows the shofar. The Rebbe said that you should go to mikveh like this. Go straight, then like a fish, then straight, then again straight, like a fish, and straight, 3 times. Straight, and fish, and straight.
Just 3 times.
9 times.
9 times.
1, second time. Get it?
Straight.
And then straight. That's one bava. Straight.
Oh, it's like a shofar.
Yeah. Straight down and flat.
Yeah.
Then straight down. That's 1. Then do that. Repeat that twice. 2 more times. 2 more times. So altogether 9.
Down, flat, down, flat.
No.
No.
Down, flat, straight down, then flat,
Yeah.
then straight down again, then flat, then straight down again, then flat, then straight down.
Okay.
So it's 3 repeatings of down, flat, and down.
Okay.
Okay, do that 3 times. Okay.
By the way, you know what is the maximum that you can do?
Of what?
Tvila?
The maximum? There's no maximum.
There is
What's the maximum?
40.
Really?
Yeah, it's because the whole thing it's by the name of God.
I know that the Rebbe once used the mikveh at a time when everyone thought that the Rebbe wasn't using the mikveh, and everyone was listening to how many times the Rebbe did, and they counted way more than that. I don't know. That doesn't mean the Rebbe did all the time. A special time for tzaddikim, not for us. Anyways, okay.
So before you blow the shofar, you go to the mikveh that morning.
Yes. Also, it's preferable not to eat before you blow the shofar.
Yeah, we don't do that. Yeah.
And if you need to, you can take a drink, but preferable not to eat because it's the mitzvah of the day is blowing the shofar. You want to do that before you do anything else. The shofar is blown from the bima, but the Shemona Esrei blowing could be blown from your place if you're blowing the shofar during the repetition of Shemona Esrei or in the Shemona Esrei itself. You could blow the shofar from your place where you are. All sounds are kosher in the shofar. Doesn't matter what this. No, it has to be the certain prescription of tkiyah, shown through tkiyah. But what's a tkiyah? So you have a very nice tkiyah in your shofar, and every sound is very nice in your shofar. So it doesn't have to have it's technically doesn't have to be a nice sound. The point of the shofar is the very usual instrument. It's just blowing. The blowing is like a force. We could have used a trumpet or a tuba or a flute. The idea of a shofar is you're blowing with your energy, with your power. It's kind of like the way Hashem blew into Adam, a spirit of life. And so to blow the shofar, it's supposed to be a cry. The Baal Shem Tov says, the essence of your neshama, you want to come back to your tati, you want to come back to Hashem, and you want to crown Hashem personally as your king. And the main thing is we should come to the main blowing of the shofar. Take me a mamish. The Bais Mashiach, shofar will be blown, and all we got in it is Yisrael. Amen. All right, shkach.
Yeah.